Hello, I'm Cothrix, and today I'm going to be talking about Abyss Odyssey. Abyss Odyssey is a perplexing game. I don't say that because the plot or gameplay mechanics are particularly hard to understand. I say it because I'm not really sure what kind of game the developers were trying to make. The game is basically a procedurally generated Metroidvania-style platformer with fighting game controls. I've always felt that the controls are the most important part of a game. If you can't control the game well, then it just doesn't feel good to play. And that's the main problem with Abyss Odyssey. It doesn't feel good to play. Now, I'm not very good at fighting games to begin with, so that could very well be part of my issue, but I just feel like the moves in this game don't combo well. There's always some kind of delay between my attacks, and I can't ever chain them very high because of it. And I assume chaining attacks is what the developers wanted, as there's a big combo chain counter on the side of the screen. I also have a lot of problems with my character not facing the right way. It's actually a pretty significant problem, and the reason why I don't feel like these kind of controls belong in a game like this. See, in a fighting game, your character will typically automatically turn to face your enemy, which makes it much easier to land combos. But you don't want your character suddenly changing directions in a platformer because it could cause you to jump or attack in the wrong direction. Now, what Abyssal Odyssey does is let you control which direction your character faces until you get hit. At that point, it automatically changes your direction to face the enemy. It's confusing, to say the least. I constantly find myself attacking the wrong direction, either because I have been forcefully changed, or I expected that I was already changed. I found that typically, instead of trying to land combos and deal with all of that, the most effective thing to do is just use the same attack over and over, especially if it knocked enemies down. But this style of gameplay isn't very fun either. Now, the game is very hard. In fact, I didn't even complete it. But I can't help but feel like a lot of that difficulty was just artificially created by the poor controls. But some of the difficulty comes from another very bizarre problem. The game likes to force you to play as other characters. The worst one of these is the soldier. Now, whenever your main character dies, you get switched to controlling a soldier. His goal is just to find an altar to resurrect your main character, but the soldier is pretty awful. I mean, he may not be the worst fighter overall, but the issue is that you just suddenly take control of him with no time to practice or learn his moveset. I pretty much get beaten down immediately whenever I have to play as a soldier. I'd honestly rather just have a game over. I also ask myself, what does playing as a soldier bring to the game? It's kind of a strange idea, and it doesn't really feel like it belongs. Yes, I know that the story involves soldiers guarding the portal to the Abyss or something, but I feel like it's just something they added to make the game easier, instead of adjusting the difficulty of the enemies and areas. And then sometimes the game just has you play as a random monster. This serves as some kind of bonus stage, I think. Now, I'm fine with it, because if you die, nothing bad happens. But I have the same problem with it as I do with the soldier. You don't really have any time to practice with this new character, so you're gonna get thrashed. And it just doesn't really feel like it belongs. Once again, I feel like it was just something they tacked onto the game to break up the monotony. Instead, I feel like they should have made the areas a bit more interesting, and maybe they wouldn't feel like they needed to add these extra things. Games are kind of like any other kind of media. You want to trim the fat. You want to get rid of things that aren't necessary and really focus on the core concept, especially with a really limited budget and a small team. And about the game areas, this game is not a great example of the whole randomly generated area genre. The areas are kind of boring. There isn't really anything that stands out, and overall it's pretty linear. I don't even call it a true Metroidvania, because you can't backtrack all that much. Once you get into a new area, you can't go back to the previous one. Not everything in the game is bad, though. The music is nice, and the art and monsters are pretty cool. A lot of the monsters are very unique. I'm not sure if these are all original designs or if they come from some kind of lore mythology that I don't know much about. I mean, you've got floating sombrero guys, bird-faced people with no arms, frozen ghost fish. I know I talked a lot of crap about this game, but honestly, it's not the worst game ever. If you're a fan of fighting games or beat-em-up arcade games, you might find this game enjoyable, though I would definitely recommend using a controller. Well, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.